Hey everyone, welcome back to Sarah's Bites. I wanted to show you guys how to make this very simple and quick cherry cake. This is one of those desserts you can whip up super quickly for the holidays. So let's get started with this recipe. In a large bowl, we're going to need 1 cup of granulated sugar with 2 eggs, and they can be straight out of the fridge. They don't have to be room temperature. And you're going to want to mix this for at least 2 to 3 minutes until all that grainy texture out of that granulated sugar is gone. So you want it to be a pale yellow color like this. And before I forget to mention it, make sure you take out your bag of frozen cherries if you are using frozen and get those to start thawing on the countertop or in a bowl. I used a 16-ounce bag of dark frozen cherries that are already pitted. Next up, we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of vanilla, and I like to use pure vanilla extract, and then 1 cup of sour cream, which can also be straight out of the fridge, and you're going to mix this just another 20 to 30 seconds. Now we'll add in half a cup of vegetable oil and give that another mix so that that oil is very well incorporated into this batter. And next up, we're going to add in 2 teaspoons of baking powder and then 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And we're going to mix one more time until that batter gets pretty thick. Just make sure you don't overmix at this point, just another 20 to 30 seconds. And if there's any more flour left on the bottom of that bowl, just use a spatula to fold everything in, and then we're going to prep our cherries. So what I like to do is just take about half of that bowl and roughly chop the cherries so that the entire cake is not filled with full cherries, because we are going to add these cherries and the juice into the batter. And then another option you guys have is you can pour your batter into your baking dish and then put all of the cherries on top and don't add any cherry juice. I personally like to have all the cherries and all that flavor throughout the entire batter, throughout that entire cake. So this is the way that I'm going to do it. I'm just going to pour everything in there with about half of them being whole cherries and half being chopped up. Then mix it just a little bit. You don't have to over mix everything here. And then we are going to put it in our baking dish. I do recommend using a sheet of parchment paper to line the baking dish with, because it's going to be so much easier to pull your cake out of that. And then also, this is a 9x9 baking dish. So we're going to add the batter in there and just smooth it out with your spatula. Give it a couple shakes, and we're going to bake it on 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 40 to 55 minutes. And I know that's a pretty wide cooking range I'm giving you guys. Just make sure that you use a toothpick test, because it all depends on your oven and how it's calibrated. I usually make this in about 45 minutes it takes to bake in my oven, but when I've made it at my mom's house, it takes about 55 minutes. So definitely use the toothpick test, and then when it's done, go ahead and pull it out of the oven and pull it out with that parchment paper and set it aside either on a cutting board or a cookie rack or something to cool off before we dust it with powdered sugar. I like to let the cake sit for at least an hour before I cut it into squares, and then when you do cut it, it should be very moist inside and sort of spongy and bursting with cherry flavor all over. So this should be a very soft and moist cake. I like to dust the cake with about 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, but you can also serve it plain or even with some whipped cream on top. Let me know in the comments below if you give this a try and if you end up using cherries or any other type of fruit. Strawberries I think would be another good option. And give it a thumbs up below if you enjoyed watching this video, and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. I'll see you guys next week with another recipe video. Bye!